My name's Terrence Michos, Terry Michos, Vermin from the Warriors, and that's for this thing. That's me.
And I'm Michael Demetrious from Zoo Crew 2.
Sure. I mean, to be fair, I could just use what you just said. We were recording that, so it's better that you say that. I mean, it's super brilliant to speak to both of you today. We're gonna be finding out a little bit more about this project. I found out about it via Twitter. I think it was Mikey that I started speaking to, and basically I thought this was really, really cool. I was a big fan of the Warriors, the movie from the 70s, and I like the idea, and it's an iconic sort of cult sort of thing. And when I started reading about this, because I'm always looking for new projects, new TV ideas, crowdfunders, whatever they were, because I like independent films. So I'm always looking for anything that's a bit different. And so as soon as I saw that, I thought, oh wow, what's this? This is super interesting. And that's why I said, look, do you guys want to talk about this? And luckily for me, you said you do. So tell me about it. Tell me, for anyone who doesn't know anything about it, what is it that you're trying to put together at the moment?
Okay, Zoo Crew 2 is a semi-autobiographical story of me. I was a well-known child actor back in the 70s, mostly for musical theater. And I had done a bunch of things. I had been on Broadway, on the Tony Awards. And since I was 3 years old, I've been doing showbiz. And I really didn't have that much of a childhood. So in '79, it was just right after I finished Broadway, I watched the Warriors, and I said, wow, yeah, I mean, this is what, forget showbiz. This is what I want to do. I want to be a gang leader. And we're in Astoria, Queens. So people who don't know where that is, Queens is a borough of New York City. We're about 5 minutes away from Manhattan. It's not one of the toughest neighborhoods in the world back then. It wasn't the South Bronx, but we still had gangs. So I brought a bunch of ragtag young kids, guys my age, a little younger, together, and we formed a gang called Zoo Crew 2 because there was already an older bunch of guys that was named Zoo Crew.
Right.
So we were so inept that we didn't know even how to name ourselves. So I just said, hey, let's be Zoo Crew 2. And that's where it goes. And it's almost like the Little Rascals meet the Warriors. We're inept. We never really fought with knives or anything like that, but every block had their own little clique or gang or whatever, and we'd fight the 49th Street Boys, or every time we walked by a certain place where the Zoo Crew guys were, they'd be throwing bottles at us and stuff like that. So that's basically the premise, and it's just a coming of age story. And the reason why we went with the television series or series itself, because there's so many characters. There's 12 of us as far as the Zoo Crew 2 gang. And then there's my mom, my dad. My mom was a bit of a stage mom. So it was like she wanted me to still be in the business and in show business. And during this time, I was still going out on auditions, but it was like, it just didn't make sense for me anymore. Yeah. And the way that
inside of him.
What's that?
Something got inside of him. It was the Warriors' mystique.
That's absolutely right. And I remember seeing Terry on screen and saying, wow, man, I mean, like, he could be my brother back then, like my older brother. And it's just the times of '79, New York City, we could do not almost anything, but we got away with a lot where there's no way during now that we can get away with this. Sure. And the thing about me is having Terry on board and some of the other guys that were from the wars. I mean, I've said to Terry a couple of years ago when I first spoke to him, it was like, you know, deep down inside, man, I'm a fanboy, man. So this is like so cool that you guys are attached to the project. And yeah, that's my story.
Sure. And you're
Good
sticking
story.
to
It's a great story.
it is a good story. I mean, it's crazy in lots of reasons. I mean, I'm speaking from the UK right now. I was born in 1979. That's literally the year I was born. But I know of the film The Warriors, you know? So it's how someone from the UK knows that film. You know, when I was, I don't know, probably 12 years old or something, I was discovering the film. I was watching it on TV late at night or whatever, you know? So there's something special about that film. It's not just, oh yeah, that's a film from a long time ago. You know, it's in pop culture. It's in the sort of the feel of films and TV and all that sort of stuff. So what are you trying to do right now in terms of, this is a TV series? How many episodes are there going to be, and where are you with the sort of production of getting this together?
Well, we're in the midst of a crowdfunding campaign, sort of like pre-production. We already have we're figuring 10 episodes a season, hopefully for streaming.
Sure.
And we have the first year pretty much locked down as far as each episode should go. Like, you know, we steal eggs to throw away, you know, throw at people on Halloween and all that stuff. And then the second season and even the third season I wrote it with my daughter, Michael Demetrious. So she's helping, man, she's a big help with all the writing and all that. And we have an Indiegogo campaign. So if you go on Indiegogo and look up Zoo Crew 2, you'll see all the guys with a small video. Terry is there, and then there's little snippets that are saying, you know, Terry's speaking about Zoo Crew 2 and how he got involved and all that stuff. And again, for me to have Terry involved and all that, it's just like, wow, you know. Again, I was 15 in '79 when it came out, and it was mind blowing. And it's amazing how that movie just affects so many people. I know in the UK there's a big following. I think
the Warriors, we were over in the UK a number of years back, and you know, I didn't understand how many different accents there were in the UK. I thought they all talked one, so I thought people were coming from different countries, you know. But they were all so unique, and understanding them. I hate to say, even understanding some of the fans, I had to really tune in. But by, you know, after one day, I started getting the nuances and the energy and the excitement that they had for the film transcends just liking a film. There's something that happened that ran through it that caused people, I'm not sure I totally understand it because I was young at the time, and when you make the movie, you're thinking,
how
as
old
an
were
actor,
you when you made it?
I think I was 24, but
Really?
when you make the movie, you're thinking, I just want to get another role. I got an acting job. You know, I wasn't thinking anything. But what I've seen over the years is that people have related it, and for some reason, and I think I have some understanding about it, but it affected their lives, like with Michael, where it caused them to rethink things. They caused them to say, there was like a line of demarcation for a lot of these fans that it made them feel they wanted to be united. They wanted to be part of something. And even the older fans, it's like, you know, the 70s, the end of the 70s was like the beginning of the end of real neighborhoods and people really communicating with each other and really feeling like a sense of oneness in a neighborhood. I mean, it took longer. And what I find interesting about Zoo Crew 2 is that they can depict that and show an era that people may not know or understand about New York, and even in their own lives, because people are looking, I don't want to get too philosophical, but they're looking to be connected. And all these different groups and kids and cops and they all interrelated in a way where, like Michael said, it wasn't so harsh. It wasn't so politically correct. It wasn't so, sterile. It was like down and gritty. And I think the fact that and I'll just let you go, Michael, I don't want to talk too much.
No, that's fine.
They decided to make it into a series allows the characters to grow, because if you're just doing a TV series about gangs, that's not going to play well today because everybody's anti-gang and anti-afraid of everything. But if you're talking about a series about a young guys who wanted to come together, and through this process of learning and things, there's life lessons at the end of each episode, which is the direction I think they're going. If you look at a lot of the stuff that's on, series on today, like on Netflix and I forget all the formats, so Hulu and all them, there's always a lesson at the end. There's always something at the end that moves the story forward, and parents then will like their kids watching it more. But the idea of bringing the 70s to life, because I like watching the 50s, because that's when I grew up, 50s and I know people miss the 70s. I know they do, especially New York City 70s.
Sure. I mean, from a cinematic point of view, the 70s, again, my age, it's you've got Rocky, you've got
right,
like the Godfather films, you've got a lot of cinematic icons from the 70s.
Saturday Night Fever, right? Wasn't Saturday Night Fever there?
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
Exactly. So I think it does touch upon people's childhoods, people's teenage years, or even if you're too young, then it's still, when you were a teenager, it's still that was on TV. So it connects where perhaps the 1950s or perhaps the 1990s now don't yet, So I get why people have a soft spot for that.
What we're trying to do as well is it's exactly what Terry said. It's not like a bunch about gangs and who's beating up who. It's about the guys coming together. And I think Terry is one of the first guys to mention, when we first wrote it, was how can we develop the characters? And that is why, to make it a series, we have that availability to have the one of the other kids, maybe his father dies, and how the rest of the guys got together. And and then they go out and break into the movie theaters or something like that. Everything today is very generic, and back then it was a style. It was a feeling. And what we're trying to, with the demographics, is appeal to guys my age, to say, hey man, I remember that. Yeah, wow, that was cool. And then have a nice maybe have a couple of up and coming stars, child actors or, young actors involved, to get that new demographic, that demographic in, to say, oh, that's what my dad went through, or my uncle went through, or something like that. And by the way, I was in The Godfather, so just so you know.
Oh, really?
Yes, I had a little part in The Godfather.
Wow. I mean,
I was 6.
Sure. I mean, that you were still in it, so that's
it makes me feel good. But,
no, I think you're right, because things. I say this a lot when I interview people and talk about independent film, or why independent film is so important. That everyone agrees that yes, what's being made now is generic and two-dimensional and doesn't have character and doesn't have depth, but yet it's what is getting churned out, So when you get an opportunity like this, and other people making their things as well, but certainly with this, where anyone that gets to hear this can actually help out, they can donate. It's literally, it's what you're putting to people is, look, if you want to see something that's a little bit different, that's got substance to it, help us make this happen,
Exactly. And again, this is an original. It's not like it's a Warriors remake, a
Yeah.
reboot,
Yeah.
a part two, or a prequel. It's something that, you know, again, with Terry and the rest of the guys, they inspired me to. I turned out okay. I mean, wasn't like, it was a bad thing. It was my time to leave that part of my life and do that. And we had a lot of good times and we grew up. I still have a lot of the guys are still my friends who live by me still that were back then. They became police officers and good things to the society. The older guys, the Zoo Crew guys, who were the really mean guys, they didn't fare so well, but that was their path. So what we're trying to do with the crowdfunding is get it going with pre-production with a publicist and marketing director. And it's hard to sell an original idea because everybody wants to do a part two. Look at Fast and the Furious. Not to say that that's not a good film and a good franchise. You got 9 of them because they all work. And who wants to think of an original thing? Maybe they think of original ways to drive a car through, like maybe a mall or something like that. Now I think there's car magnets, and Fast and Furious 9. But
I think that's different here is that people have been asking for the Warriors for 40 years to have done a part 2, but it never happened. And I think in some ways it was good for the film because it's so unique how it stands on its own.
Yeah.
And people, when there's been talk of remakes and things like that, and I'm not making any judgment on a remake, I'm just saying the fans make the judgment and they say, no way.
No.
Not all the fans, but hardcore fans. When I go on these shows and things and hardcore Warriors fans come up to us, they know lines, they know everything. They have conversations about parts of the film. I have to really be on my game to say, oh, I gotta remember all this, because I mean the Warriors is a part of me. And we're really close to the guys in the film. Most of us are very close still. We talk and hang out when we're doing shows together. We don't live in the same part of that, but it's we're very close and a lot of laughs, but we really try to tune into our fans, which will be, fans of this if it's able to find its potential, which I believe it should and could, because the war, it's not going to be a film about the Warriors. The Warriors aren't going to be in it, everything, but there's characters going to be in it from the Warriors and they're going to interact. And what that does is it anchors the period, it anchors the piece, because they'll see Warriors characters that they know in roles interacting still. And it's sort of like it draws them.
And it gives it a validity, it makes it valid, that if, with Terry being involved, it's not like, okay, I'm just shooting something out there to try to cash in on Warrior stuff. I mean, Terry has read the script and graciously is on today with me here. And I thank you, Terry. But it's like
he's successful, Michael.
It validates. It also validates the whole thing, and that makes me feel really, it makes me feel warm and nice, and knowing that it's a story that they can relate to, which is cool, and we want to get everybody else to relate to it.
So how do we make sure that it happens? Literally, is it people donating whatever they can?
Whatever they can. We have perks. There's a level of different perks, and you get different things. But if you can't afford, we're not looking for like one person to give us 1,000 and another person to give us another 1,000. And so, listen, man, if you're supporting us, go to Indiegogo, look up Zoo Crew 2. You'll see everything there. And even if it's $5, $10, we just need to get the marketing director, like I said, a line producer, just to get that going. And once we have that, we forge ahead, and we can make that one step go to the next step, and then
Sure.
it'll be on a streaming service near you. You know. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I was just saying, for me, you know, I haven't been in acting in a while, but I'm an actor. I'm not an actor, but I was on the news. I was a news anchor for many years, and I worked in politics and as a communications director for a congresswoman on Capitol Hill. So it's not acting, but it's all the same thing. But, you know, I did that for so many years. And for me, it's like, I want to see these energetic producers and writers who are really nice people, because they represent, because I've talked to them, and I've talked to some of the Warriors guys why they are kind of wanting to help. They represent what the Warriors fans are like. The Warriors fans, there's a ton of them all over. It's not tens of thousands, it's hundreds of thousands more. I'm probably a million. I mean, more. I mean, I don't want to count them. And they come out of everywhere, and they're young and old and women and young. And the thing that's cool about it is there's a lot of women fans, because the Warriors, you know, they had fights. Today, you know, they would be sliced, and there'd be blood, and it'd be gory, and some people would like that. But back then, the fighting was almost noble. These are my words. You know,
right.
You had to fight, and a lot of the women, our women fans, they loved it. They loved it because, you know, there was camaraderie. There was, you know, we hope we were good looking, and
You still are, Terry. You're still good looking.
And there wasn't all this, you know, gratuitous violence.
Yeah.
It was marked violence that moved the story forward.
Yeah,
exactly.
Zoo Crew 2 will have
ethos.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We're having a little delay here. I'm sorry. Zoo Crew 2 will show, you know, acts of violence, but not for the sake of violence, for the sake of showing people struggling and coming together and period of time and overcoming and things like that.
And again, in '79, it was like, if you're on our block, you're not supposed to be on our block. It was a territorial thing. I'm also very happy that we're very diverse. The bunch of guys that I hung out with were of all ethnic backgrounds and different races and all that. We have a Vietnamese guy, Peruvian, Argentinian, Cuban guys. We were all together, and it was just the neighborhood, especially Astoria, Queens. It was very diverse. So
the Warriors was a multicultural gang before multiculturalism came out.
that's for sure. That's absolutely for sure. And I think that, not that we were closed-minded, I just think by seeing that, it was like what we had in real life was, hey man, there's no color between any of us.
People were drawn to that because they saw something that wasn't happening, but they desired. Why can't we just
do that?
Yeah, be together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure. No, I agree. I mean, I think if the minimum that everyone could do is repost it and share it as much as they can on Twitter, on any other platform. But yeah, the more people that get involved, the better. You may, as I said, things start happening. I mean, do you have a sort of loose sense of timescale of when you're trying to get this done in the next, say, couple of months and this year?
You know, you never know what's going to happen, especially like with the virus and all that stuff. That brought us back because we couldn't do anything. Luckily, Zoom, now that we can all speak like this, but I would hope by the end of the year, it really starts to take off as far as maybe production and distribution, or getting a deal of some sort of that. You know, the sooner the better, but we want to do it right as well. We don't want to go haphazardly into something and then it fails because we wanted to do it quick as
Yeah.
opposed to maybe let's do it the right way. And if it takes us a couple of more months, then so be it. Let's do it the right way, and everybody's happy, and it's the best way possible.
Tom, what do you feel in terms of the UK? When you hear when the Warriors fans talk, what is it the thing that they're drawn to?
I don't know about anyone else, but I know from again the times I've seen it, both seeing it for the first time many years ago and still recently, is I think you've kind of touched upon it. It's almost like it is an ideal. It was the fact that, you know, it's obvious that it was set some time ago, you know, in the late 70s, and someone in their maybe teens or 20s now will just kind of go, I can't relate to the music and their clothes and all that sort of thing. But it's almost that they were a group of people who, they weren't necessarily bad people. They were just kind of in the situation that they're in, but they're also friends, and they're trying to deal with the situation they're in and deal with it and get home. And it's almost like, as I said, it's an idealized, almost like an Arthurian kind of legend, as in that they're on the quest.
It's sort of like the Wizard of Oz, you know. It's like,
yeah,
it's like she says, "There's no place like home. I just want to
right.
get home. We're fighting to get home. There may be scarecrows and lions, and this guy's we had, you know, the Turnbull seas, but we want to get home."
Yeah, I think.
Listen,
I think
I have to jump off this, and I don't mean to, but is that okay? But I want to tell you, you know, I really appreciate you letting me on here and talk. And, you know, Michael, you know, he's really working hard with Lene and others to get this going. And, you know, I hope people can support their work and what they're doing, because I think it has potential. And I just want to leave everybody with this. 43 years later, I'm still sick of waiting for trains.
Thank you, Terry.
Thank you. Yeah, Terry,
Bless
thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I guess it's just us two.
Yeah, that was cool. I like that. That's a very good exit. No, brilliant. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate your time. And we'll sort of wrap up. Look, anything that I can do to help you guys, you know, when I get this up as soon as possible, hopefully tomorrow, you know, because I don't need to.
Yeah, just put the link up, and again,
Yeah.
you know, anybody that's listening, just go on Indiegogo.
Yep.
Look up Zoo Crew 2, and again, there's a bunch of perks, and we'd love for you to get a perk. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
What would you say is the best perk? If you were making like a quick sales pitch right now, and if I had a big bag of money, what would you say is the perk that really means money?
$20 gets you. It's easy. Gets you a social media shout out. We put your picture in a nice little frame as a contributor and as helping us bring the Warriors back together, because again, they're going to be in the series, and that's going to be the first time, other than their conventions and the shows that they do, that'll be the first time ever that they're all together in anything film-wise or, you know, series-wise. You know, they're not going to be playing. They'll be guest stars, so they won't be playing the Warrior, the Swan, or Vermin, you know, 43 years later. They're just going to be actors in it. But isn't it great that it's the guys from the Warriors? Another perk that we have is the $50 perk, and you get a poster. It was a really cool poster, man. And you get everything else with that. The shout out you get still, the social media shout out, the poster. We have a perk where your picture will be on there, and we have perks where there'll be special thanks on the pilot. And so you just got to look it up. But I don't want people to be intimidated by thinking, oh, for me to make a difference, I got to give $500 or, you know, $750. The more the people, the better. because then we reach more people.
Yeah, just by
That's how.
showing it, making a difference, aren't you?
Yep. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
I'd
that's
love
I
would
guess that's
love
it.
to- Sure, I'd love to touch base with you and see how you guys are doing, you know, a little bit further along,
Sure.
and keep the momentum going, because yeah, again, I think this is a big project. It's an ambitious project, but I think it's a very, very cool one, and it's one that is different. You know, it's different and it's more meaningful, certainly to me, but I think to a lot of people as well. And look, we got to make it happen, man. You know,
Yeah, we're gonna make it happen. We will make it happen, and with everybody's help, it's going to succeed for sure. I won't stop until it does.
Sure.
So,
No, I believe you. I believe you. I just want to thank you, for your time today.
and thank you as well. And we'll be speaking soon, hopefully, and we'll get an update what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely.